It is time to change things up here on Fog Wrestling. And as Vincent Kennedy McMahon would maybe say, you're hired. Welcome back, guys. We made a video the other day, 50 wrestlers that need released from the main shows, from Raw and SmackDown. We came up with our list, but now that we have released 50 wrestlers from the main shows, we need to find replacements. We need to put somebody else in that spot. So we've made up a list of 10 people from NXT that we believe should be called up to the main roster, whether it be tonight, whether it be tomorrow, or whether it be in the WWE draft. The following people from NXT are people that we believe deserve to be on either Raw or SmackDown. Of course, there's some people that will not be on the list. That doesn't mean we don't think they're, bad or that they suck. It's just I think they would perhaps benefit from being in NXT a little bit longer. But before we get into the list, I just want to point out, I don't understand this whole concept with leaving people on NXT that are clearly ready. And an example I want to give of this is, let's say Randy Orton, back in the day, when he was in OVW and he got called up and he was put into Evolution, at the time when Orton came to the main roster, was he ready? No. Similar to John Cena, were they ready to be main event stars at that stage of their careers? Probably not. No. But what do you think Randy Orton benefited from more? Do you think he benefited more from being in Evolution for a couple of years alongside Triple H and Ric Flair, getting to wrestle legends like Kane, Rob Van Dam, Shawn Michaels, Goldberg every single week, or do you think he would have improved more on OVW?
It would have been WWE, the main roster, and these guys don't have that opportunity. They have to wrestle each other, and that's exactly why they need called up. You can't hang about. No, it happened. See, with like Bobby Roode and Samoa Joe, they became stale.
Nakamura?
They just fucking kept them.
The only one that they brought in recent years was AJ Styles, and I just don't understand it. You've got Bobby Roode and Nakamura, and all these guys, Samoa Joe. It's not like they were hired to the WWE when they were like in their early 20s. WWE literally brought these guys in when they were approaching 40. They'd already made a name from, okay, not the mainstream WWE corporation, but they'd already done a lot of stuff in wrestling. Why not bring them in and give them a chance on Raw and SmackDown? Instead, they bring these guys in, put them in NXT, and by the time they're called up, they're like 3-4 years older and a hell of a lot staler.
Exactly.
I don't think it worked.
And injury prone in the case of Samoa Joe.
Yeah, Samoa Joe. I mean, even if you look at Mandy Rose, it's like, what were they planning on doing with Mandy Rose? Why was she still there? I mean, she was 31, for God's sake. Like, what age were they planning on keeping her on the development brand? I just don't get it. And there might be some people on our list that are maybe only 21, 22, and you might be like, well, that's too young. There's no rush for them to get called up. But again, I completely disagree. You look at Randy Orton, you look at John Cena.
Brock
Lesnar. And I pose the question, did their careers benefit for going to Raw, SmackDown early, or would they have benefited more in OVW?
Raw and SmackDown early, come on. Fuck OVW. Let's get stuck into that.
I just don't get it. If you're good, you're good. If you're good, you get called up to the main show.
If you're good enough, you're old enough. That's it.
I mean, look at Randy Orton becoming the youngest champion. If he'd have stayed on OVW for another 2 years, he couldn't have done that.
No.
See if Randy Orton stays in OVW, see when he comes up in 2004.
It takes to 2006 to get to the main event level.
If John Cena stays in OVW for another 2 years, is he WWE champion by the time we get to WrestleMania 21? Of course not.
No.
Is Batista WWE champion at WrestleMania 20? Of course not. So it's just like this new era, the Ruthless Aggression era. It basically would have got delayed because they would have kept all the future stars down in development. It makes no sense. So that's why
it actually would have just made the company die a bit quicker.
It would have. So that's why we're coming up with this list, guys. And moving into number one, we're going to go with Apollo Crews. Look, I've never been the biggest fan of Apollo Crews. However, I think the best spell of his career was when he debuted at that whole Nigerian gimmick. He got a big match at WrestleMania. He had the, was it Intercontinental or US champ? It doesn't matter. I think it was US.
IC.
Was it IC?
I think it was IC.
IC US, same bloody shit. But anyway, he had a mid-card title. He defeated Big E at WrestleMania. He had the big bodyguard. I mean, things were working out for Apollo Crews, but unfortunately, WWE, they can never keep the momentum on somebody. It's almost like as soon as they take a belt off you, they have nothing for you, and they just let you literally drop right back down the card. So Apollo Crews literally became nothing. He then got moved to NXT, and this has to be the best period. If I say the previous period was his best, then I think what he's doing on NXT is overtaking that. The guy's actually been given a personality. He's doing all these cool segments and vignettes where he gets like flashbacks, and he gets got like these premonitions where he can like see into the future, and he can envision people getting hurt and stuff when he wrestles them. I think a lot of that stuff they were doing with the bloody eyes and stuff, I think that was really good for Apollo Crews, and the main roster would benefit from that, because you look at the main roster, there's barely any gimmicks, there's barely any characters. The main roster is pretty much people step into the ring and fucking wrestle, and that's what I like about Apollo Crews. He is not that. He offers something else.
That's the problem though. There's no guarantee if he goes up again that they'll give him that, and he could just become the stale Apollo Crews that got sent back down.
Yeah, he could just become an Apollo Crews that likes to do flips and wrestle. So,
but see, they could do that with everyone on this list, and I wouldn't be surprised. There's a few people here that are literally dependent on their gimmick.
Yeah, there's a few people here that could get called up. They could drop their current gimmick and they could just 6 months later go back to NXT. By the way, this list is in terms of alphabetical order. So yeah, that's why Apollo Crews is number one. It's not because we think he's the least important person to be called up, or that we think he's the most important person to be called up. He just happens to begin with an A. Moving on to number two, it's Brownbreaker, the son of Rick Steiner, the nephew of Scott Steiner. I mean, if that's not reason enough to call Brownbreaker up,
get him called up, man.
Then what is? The guy's pretty much, he's been a two-time NXT champion. He has either been the champion or been in the championship scene for, I believe, about 16 months straight now. This guy has nothing else to accomplish on NXT. He's main event to NXT for almost a year and a half now straight. And the guy doesn't look like he's attempting to win back the NXT title. I would be absolutely shocked if he's not called up. He has to be the main call-up for NXT in this draft. Brownbreaker has to go to Raw or SmackDown.
He has to, but the problem is, they just don't know how to book these people long-term. And that's another thing you've got with the Roman Reigns effect. See with him hoovering both belts, you're calling people up and they've no idea what they're going to do to them.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Brownbreaker, could easily be... Would easily not look at a place with the US title or the IC championship.
But that's the thing, right? Would they let Brownbreaker beat Gunther? Dethrone him?
I'd like to see it.
I don't think they would, though.
I'd like to... Who else is? So he's beating everyone else.
But say he beat Austin Theory. I mean, it's not really massive, is it?
No, it's not.
I mean, holding the belt itself may be a big deal, but beating Austin Theory's not.
What I thought was going to happen, I thought Cena was going to beat Austin Theory at Mania, offer a US Championship Open challenge on Raw, and this man was going to come out and take the belt off him.
Man, that would have been good.
That didn't happen. We didn't get Breaker versus Cena, but I do think we will get Breaker on Raw or SmackDown. What out of the two brands, what do you think? What brand do you think needs some more, or what brand do you think he'd be suited on more?
I think Raw.
Raw. I'd take him on Raw.
I feel like SmackDown's just got like... SmackDown's shite, you know what? Actually, maybe SmackDown needs him. And again, but you're saying what brand needs him. There's a draft coming up, so fuck knows.
True, but if you could pick, where would he go?
I'd put him on SmackDown.
SmackDown. And would he win the IC title?
Yes.
If he can't win it, who can? I mean, Gunther's already beat, but like you said, the draft can mix things up.
Oh, but Gunther did 75 minutes in the Royal Rumble, so... Oh.
Screw Gunther. Brownbreaker, in my opinion, should be getting called up to the main roster. Moving on to number 3, we've got Cora Jade. She's done the skateboard gimmick. She's now the bad girl of NXT. And I just feel like there's a lot of women on NXT with obviously one championship to go for. I feel like Cora Jade hasn't had her opportunity yet, but there's no sign that opportunity is going to come. So honestly, I would just take the chance with Cora Jade. I think she's been one of the big players in the women's division. Now she's had multiple shots at the title, hasn't won it. But I just don't really see the need of her staying now in the NXT division. I would personally push her up. I think she's like 22 now, 21, 22. I mean, why not just take a chance? Why not bring someone out who perhaps isn't ready? But then that's actually good, because then we get to see somebody who's actually raw, and we get to see them either, sink or swim in the major divisions.
Why not let them just take the belt off Belair? I mean, Ripley's just won it, so fair enough, but bloody have them dethrone Belair. The stalest. How much fresher would it be given a call up the belt rather than Belair hooving it off everyone?
Yeah, just have someone come up and just take the belt off Bianca Belair. Will it happen? Probably not. I don't like how in recent years it's like everyone who comes up from NXT is more or less booked as a jobber. Like, why can't we have someone... Like, Brownbreaker shouldn't be getting called up to Raw or SmackDown as an underdog. He should be getting called up to Raw and SmackDown as a main event guy.
No, but that's it. But see, Cora Jade, she'll get called up with someone else on this list, and they'll become a tag team, and they'll be in a fatal women's fourth. Match.
Tonight you're taking on Tegan Knox and fucking Emma. I mean,
yes.
I mean, what's that going to do for you? Seriously, I mean, Cora Jade, I think, had a pretty good rivalry with Roxanne Perez. The whole thing with them winning the titles and then her turning her back on her and putting the belt in the garbage. I mean, that was pretty good. But I just think there's too many women in NXT, and rather than some of them getting lost in the shuffle, I believe you're better off calling them up. Moving into number 4, we've got D-Jack. Real name, I think he went by the name of Dominic something on
Burham or something.
And he was in Retribution. I'm not going to hold him against him because Retribution absolutely sucks.
He stole Finney Jones's sunglasses for the Condemned, and he looks good. So
yeah, he looks like an absolute fucking badass. He's got a cool entrance. The guy he reminds me of the Punisher a little bit. He just looks like a fucking badass. This guy looks like a wrestler. This guy looks like someone you'd expect to be wrestling, not a vanilla midget doing flips and flops. This guy actually looks like a killer. He comes out and he just looks the part. And I believe there's definitely room for a big guy like this on Raw or SmackDown. So for me, D-Jack 100% should be called up. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to keeping him in NXT a bit longer, but he's already lost an opportunity at winning the North American Championship. If he can't win that title, then he's probably not going to win the NXT World Championship. And therefore, I think the guy's just too good to sit in the mid-cards of NXT.
No, exactly. So I'd get him up. And you know what? I'd put him on Raw.
Put him on Raw. Moving up to number 5 with Grayson Waller. I've seen a lot of people say this guy's okay, but he's not great. I'm going to go ahead and say this guy...
He's Grayson Waller.
I'm going to say this guy could be the next top heel in WWE. This guy is like a better version of The Miz.
Way more athletic version of The Miz.
And a guy that's not fucking stale. A guy that when he actually does talk shows, you look forward to it. There's not one talk show apart from the Grayson Waller effect that I see announced for a wrestling show and I'm thinking, that's going to be good.
You know what? He's like your typical jock, but he's like the main jock. He's a good guy. Your Aussie jock.
And he does a lot of cool stuff. He like Instagram, he incorporates Instagram when he's to me, the guy's a star. And I think he should be on the main roster. Get rid of The Miz and bring in this guy. I think we actually didn't select The Miz to be in one of the 50 to be released, but we easily could have. Because the Miz is... Just release The Miz and let him do shitty movies and bring in Grayson Waller.
That's it.
Let Grayson Waller.
See, the next time I see Miz host Mania, come on. What? Imagine Grayson Waller hosting Mania. It would feel so much fresher.
It would.
Miz seems like he hosts it every year. Him and Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, it's like, give us something new. Honestly, Grayson Waller, great talker. Embarrassing that he lost the feud with Johnny Gargano at Stand and Deliver. But this guy, to me, is a top star.
That is one of the worst decisions I've ever seen.
As much as I think Brownbreaker could have been like a top face, and who knows, just because he's heel at the moment doesn't mean he can't be a face, but as much as I think he could be a top face, I think Grayson Waller could equally be a top heel.
Exactly.
I look at Breaker and Waller and I see these guys main eventing Mania in like 5 years' time. So,
yep. Talk about not main event Mania. Joe Gacy up next, and I don't agree with this guy.
Look, I put him on the list because, let's be honest,
the list of Jericho, man.
Bray Wyatt's done. Bray Wyatt's gone.
Yeah, but he's like a pish version of Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I know, but maybe if he gets a chance, he can be a good version of Bray Wyatt. At least this guy's never let the company down. He's never taken a mental leave. He's never done any of that shit.
How about, right, you get rid of Joe Gacy, you call up The Rock's daughter, shave her dome, give her The Rock's tattoo,
stick an eyebrow on
her against Roman Reigns, and there you go. The Rock versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. But nah, for me, I actually don't mind Joe Gacy. The character's a bit shit, but I feel like it's been watered down. At the start, he was doing this good, like, woke stuff, but then it just turned into, like, another cult gimmick, and it's like, isn't that overdone in wrestling? You've got, like, the Judgment Day, aren't they supposed to be, like, a cult thing at the beginning when Edge came in?
Yep.
It was, like, a cult thing. Then you got Joe Gacy and his bunch of jobbers. That is a cult thing. I mean, I think Joe Gacy's got potential. I just think his time in NXT's done.
Yeah, it is done.
And he's actually not that young.
Wait, is he, like, 34 or something?
I think he's into his 30s, aye. So, I mean, to me, it's now or never. And I'm not saying he'd do great on the main roster, but... I mean, I would just give him a chance since Bray Wyatt's gone.
I will give him a chance, but that's all he's getting. Singular chance.
All I need's a chance. Moving into number 7, I went with Nikita Alliance. Now, she is injured at the moment, which is unfortunate, but the reason why I think Nikita Alliance deserves to be called up is she's different. She doesn't look like anyone else. There's definitely some sort of like attraction with Nikita Alliance. The fact is, she's clearly different from everyone else on the roster. She's like a bigger girl, but not fat. Got a unique moveset, a unique look. She's just not your average girl, and I don't mean not average as in fat like Doudrop. I just mean not average as in she looks like Nikita Alliance, who's completely different from everybody else. And again, I feel like now she's actually on the NXT for a little bit too long, and it's like, do you really want to keep her here, or do you want to move her up? I don't really think Nikita Alliance has a lot more to gain from being on NXT. I think the women's division on Raw and SmackDown is nothing short of abysmal. So I think you should call up as many women as you possibly can.
And I feel like if you're not in the women's title picture in NXT and you've been there for a while, you may as well just get called up to the main roster. Especially if you're semi-over by yourself anyway.
Yeah, now, I believe she might have been in a title match, but I don't think she's had a one-on-one title match.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're going to wait another year, another 2 years on her to get a title shot, or are you just going to call
her up, man?
I would call her up, so Nikita Alliance, Raw or SmackDown?
SmackDown.
Lay the SmackDown on fucking Rhea Ripley's candy ass. Moving into number 8, we've got Pretty Gay, a.k.a. Pretty Deadly. The team of...
Great team.
What's the team of? So great, we can't remember their names.
I can't remember their names, but
it's
they're Pretty Deadly.
Elton John.
Is that what actually one was called?
Aye, no, Prince something, Prince and John, Elton.
Prince Elton?
Prince and John.
Prince
Elton John. What's these guys' names?
I don't know, mate.
For God's
We
sake.
know they're Pretty Deadly, though.
Like, they actually it's entertaining. That I know they're pretty gay, but it's like, I think Pretty Deadly come across as like a entertaining sort of gay, like a camp gay. Whereas you look at the New Day, and the New Day is literally just, no, the New Day is gay.
Yeah.
The Pretty Deadly remind me more of a Billy and Chuck.
Comedy act.
They're like a comedy act, but it's like they probably don't even realise they're being gay. And I mean, it'd be good if they actually had a reveal, like, down the line, and they're like, what the hell? You know, like, so they think they're getting married, and then they like refuse this shit. But in 2023, I doubt we'll go down that route. They'll probably
no hands.
They'll probably just pretend to be bum buddies for the rest of their life. But I mean, you look at the tag division on Raw and SmackDown. I mean, it is garbage. Hopefully now, with the belts off the Usos and the draft coming up, they might decide to split up the tag team titles again. And if that's the case, if we're going to have a set of tag titles on both Raw and SmackDown, I think we're going to need tag teams on both shows. So therefore, I think Pretty Deadly,
they belong on Raw.
Would be a good call up. You going for Raw?
I'm going for Raw.
Raw. Pretty Deadly, like it Raw. Moving into number 9, we're going with Tiffany Stratton. So the Tiffany Stratton could be the next big thing in the women's division, in my opinion. Was called a blonde bimbo by Indy Hartwell on NXT last week. That might be true. Who knows? But I mean, you look at Tiffany Stratton, not only does she have the look, but she's also very talented in the ring. See, in terms of ability, I don't know if you've realised any time she has a match, like, but she actually moved for
She was MVP of the ladder match.
See, for a woman, like, she's actually a really good wrestler. I mean, people want to talk about the women's, she's better than, like, 90% of the women on the main roster. Hands down.
Yeah, fucking easily.
Plus, another reason
that women's ladder match is one of the best ladder matches I've seen in recent years. And
plus, another reason why I think Tiffany Stratton would fit the main roster is because WWE have this obsession with pushing these, like, big women. These, like, these women that are, like, too big, and they look a little bit, like, larger than, typical women do. And I feel like Tiffany Stratton is, like, a bigger woman, but still feminine at the same time.
Yeah.
But she's, like, taller and, maybe a bit more muscular, but she's still feminine. You look at Tiffany Stratton and she just looks like a woman that's, like, slightly bigger. Whereas you look at Rhea Ripley and, it just looks like a man.
It's a man. It's not a mighty fine man.
So, yeah, I think Tiffany Stratton would be a great addition to either Raw or SmackDown. Walsh, or who knows? I mean, if she's going to be champion in NXT, that's one thing. But if she's not going to be the champion, again, like, literally, what is the point? You call these people up. Or I don't see how Tiffany Stratton, like, see Cora Jade, Tiffany Stratton, Nikita Alliance, can they do any worse on Raw and SmackDown than, like, Tegan Nox? Candice LeRae.
But see, that's the problem.
No, but can they do any worse than that?
They can't, but that's the problem. I think you need to actually release a lot of them. Before, I'm not saying before you call them up, but what is the point of having those people who have failed? They've been released, may as well have been 10 times.
Candice LeRae, 34. Dakota Kai, 33. Emma is like 32. Tegan Knox, I think, is a little bit younger.
See Dakota Kai, where did she come from?
NXT. Got released, Vince released her. Triple H brought her back. Pretty much everybody.
When was she signed by WWE the first time?
4 or 5 years ago.
That's just a fucking mess. And done what?
Nothing. Stayed on NXT. Got released. And
None
then
of them have done anything.
Triple H called her back in about 6 months' time.
Triple H needs fucking shot.
So yeah, for me, Tiffany Stratton.
Right, you know what? I'm calling number 10, and I'm putting a hit out in fucking Triple H because he needs to sort it out.
Right, number 10, last but not least.
It's Tony D, not the family though.
Not the fit. Well, he can bring.
You can bring stacks if he wants.
He can bring stacks if he wants. I would put Tony D on any roster, and I'd let him stack everybody up and become the next champ. I mean, this is a guy with a gangster gimmick. Imagine that. Imagine a cool gangster gimmick where fucking a guy makes wrestling cool.
I know. Sleeping with the fishes, guns.
I mean, a guy that
talks, jackets.
A guy that talks about like the family and feuds and all this gangster shit, and basically, you know, like killing people, offing people they don't like. I mean, he literally, you know, offed one of his crew members by throwing them into the ocean. I mean, that is some cool shit. But no, people would rather watch Ricochet. They fucking flips and dives.
Look at Legado, else the Mongols. Like, see them? They've literally jobbed out. They're the LWO. What are they going to turn him into?
True, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Family go golf.
No, I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are on NXT. If you get called up and you don't get booked correctly, then you're going to be shit.
And I don't think Vince would get this. I don't.
Can someone not just sit Vince down in front of the Sopranos and be like, here, see Tony D? He's Tony S.
No, it's like, you did DOA before Sun, so come on, Vince.
But no, I mean, people, I don't understand why we can't have more gimmicks, even if it's like ripping stuff off. Look at Aces and Eights. I liked Aces and Eights. I thought it was good. It was entertaining. It was full of bums. Aces and Eights wouldn't have worked. See if it was just a faction. Oh, we're a bunch of bums and we like to wrestle. That would have fucking sucked.
Sure, no, but I mean, surely you could just literally rip off like scenes and stories for TV shows and implement it into wrestling, and it would fucking work.
Why can't we have a Walter White?
Yeah, I know.
Why can't we have a wrestler that's skint? And he's like, I'm not making enough money here or whatever. You know, I'm not winning enough titles. I need to protect my family. And he does some, like, you know, dodgy shit to make money.
Exactly, but it sucks.
But, you know, I don't know. I mean, he could, alright, he doesn't have to...
Walter Gringo can be called.
I mean, he doesn't have to make meth, but he could do something to, I don't know, just be entertained. Just try something new. Try something different.
Where's the meth, Jeff?
I mean, yeah, like, why can't we see characters from, like, The Sopranos or characters from, like, Sons of Anarchy? Why can't we get stuff like that incorporated?
Everybody loves the Aces and Eights.
You know, like, I just don't see why we can't get stuff like that incorporated into wrestling. So, that is our list, guys.
Because they're not wrestlers, they're
sports entertainers, they're characters.
We can't have them, man. We need the wrestlers.
Yeah, so that is 10 people that we think should be called up from NXT to the main show, whether it be Raw or SmackDown. Look, I mean, we just released 50 people, so we need at least 10 to come up and take their place. That's it though, guys. We'll be back for more videos. Let us know what you think of this list. Let us know who you think is currently most deserving on NXT for a call-up to the main roster. Who would you call up to the main roster? I mean, personally, we didn't put Carmelo Hayes on the list because he's obviously champ, and I didn't feel like it would be, you know, right to put the champ up. But even Carmelo Hayes, I just kind of get a feeling once he's called up, he's just going to lose his appeal. Him and Trick, they aren't going to be doing cool shit. You aren't going to see them at nightclubs. You aren't going to see them at like parties and, you know, living this lifestyle.
Nope.
I mean, it's like Crime Time. They were entertaining because they were basically from the hood, and their gimmick was they like to steal shit and make money. That's not complicated. That's not a hard concept to get. But what if Crime Time were just two black guys that like to wrestle?
I know.
It would have fucking sucked.
Brooklyn.
We're coming to wrestle you.
5-star classics to you. Son.
You know, it's like, what the hell? Anyway, guys, that's it.
Chad Gaspar and JTG, and they want to give you a 5-star wrestling player.
Rest in peace, Chad Gaspar. We'll catch you in the next one. Till then, peace.